All right, if you've chosen this selection for your assessment options, then you should be a pretty high performance oriented athlete. Um, some of these tests are maybe a little overkill for the everyday individual who's training to finish strong in an event. So these assessments here may be something that you're looking for or your coach may be recommending for you. Like all of our assessments, they start with the cardiometabolic profile, which is basically a ramping protocol on the bike or the treadmill. So it's fairly short, 10 to 15 minutes. You're hooked up to an O2, CO2 analyzer and heart rate monitor, and we go up 1 minute ramps until you're at your end point where you can't go any further. So we're looking at the aerobic capacity or VO2 max, and we also are identifying certain ventilatory thresholds along the way. The ventilatory thresholds correlate with lactate threshold, but they're not always exactly the same. They are very specific, or I should say they are reflective of training changes. So if we see a right shift on your thresholds, then we're going to most likely see an improvement in what you can sustain. So the CardioMet profile is pretty much evaluating all your systems. So how well you take in and breathe oxygen and get rid of CO2, how well your heart's working to deliver the oxygen or the oxygen in the blood to the working muscle, and how well you're able to utilize that oxygen in the muscle. So it's a comprehensive, it's kind of like the whole picture all at once. And it's going to be very instructive as far as how well your systems are working together. So we are identifying these thresholds, we're creating training zones specific to where the VT1, the VT2, and your aerobic capacity are. Now, there are different methods, so we're looking at O2 CO2 in the CMP. We offer after that a follow-up, almost a confirmation test in a way, where we can do lactate testing. So you'll see another option on those assessments for a max steady state lactate test. So here's the reasoning here. These are longer stages. So again, we're going to get a little bit more reliable information for the particular load that you're going to be sustaining. So we're talking 5 to 10 minute stages. We will ramp that up, but it's a longer ramp process, obviously, because of the longer stages. And we're taking lactate. So if we're doing max lactate steady state, for example, on a bike test, we may do a 10-minute stage, take a lactate in the middle and then at the end, and then see if there's a change in that particular power output level, and make sure that it's steady state. So if it doesn't go up more than a millimole, then we're at a steady state. So we're obviously going to keep going up until we get to that point where the first and second lactate measurement are going to be outside of that 1 millimole, and that would be above the max steady state lactate level. So this is more of a confirmation on FTP. Where is that functional threshold? Where can you sustain 40 to 70 minutes is usually what FTP is described at. This is the field test, by the way. Functional threshold power is when you go out and do a 20-minute, or there are other options in the field, and you're looking at power sustained and taking certain ratios to determine what that 60-minute power is. So the blood analysis is just going to give that physiological perspective of where that is. So some coaches will want to use this value because it's going to be a little bit more reflective of the changes that give you that ability to sustain that. Sometimes the ventilatory thresholds, you're going to find, especially the less fit individual, that their VT2 or that where the lactate threshold would be is going to be a little bit higher than what they can really sustain. So it's more of a potential, whereas the max steady state lactate is going to be a little bit more reflective. So again, that's an option you can add on for max steady state, or you can use it as a standalone test, and we provide that service. The other lactate analysis is called the VLA Max test, so you'll see that option in there as well, or we combine that with the cardiometabolic in a package. And the VLA Max test is really how high is your anaerobic capacity. So we'll do a 15 to 20 second all-out effort. We take blood lactate before and after, and we look at that rate of how quickly it accumulates during that period of time. So that rate of accumulation is what we call VLA max. And the reason you would want to do that type of a test is sometimes the anaerobic threshold can get stuck. You're not able to move that up because your anaerobic capacity is too high. So it's kind of like you're titrating the two. So depending on what your goal is and where you're stuck, you may want to do both tests so that you can analyze maybe what you might need to be doing to maybe bring down that anaerobic capacity so that you can bring up your anaerobic threshold or sustainable power. So that's called the VLA Max test. So you'll see in here you have the options schedule now, or if you get some kind of a code discount, you can buy now, schedule later, and use that here. But the options are the cardiometabolic exercise profile, and then we have a reeval, we have the resting energy expenditure, multi-sport, and then we have that pure performance, which is CMP plus the VLA Max test. So you can do them each individually or get a little discount here if you get both combined. And then finally, there's information on how to prepare for the tests here. You can click on that, and if you are scheduling an appointment, you'll know what you'll need to do prior to the testing. All right, if you have questions, though, feel free to contact us anytime. You can email us. All right, hope to see you in the lab.